Hello and welcome to Oh Health by Dr. T. Thank you so much. Tonight, I'm super excited to have this beautiful power couple that's into well-being, into good health, mind, body, and soul. We have Jen and Jim Rohr, and they are an amazing, beautiful couple that I'm so happy to be getting to know more and more recently. Gotten to be working as colleagues with essential oils. And also, this is a show in which I want to educate everyone all the different ways they can promote their well-being, mind, body, and soul, of course. And also, I want to educate everyone on all the alternative methods one can do that. And acupuncture is an ancient medicine that has been around forever. And I do send patients for acupuncture, but I am always surprised how many people are not even aware of all the benefits. They don't know where they can go. It's not as readily available as going to a pharmacy and picking up a prescription, as you, I'm sure, can agree. And
Right.
so this is why I wanted to interview you and Jen, who is a yoga instructor and lives and breathes health and well-being as well, just like both of you do. You're a beautiful couple that are working very synergistically in this message, right? In your career and in your personal life, you're living it. You're examples, right, of what it is to really take care of yourself and understand yourself. And also, Jim, you have a podcast.
I do.
And can you tell us what the name of the podcast is?
Yeah, the podcast is called Pleasure Points. So it's a play on, acupuncture points. But we talk about a lot of mindfulness, meditation, just kind of like staying alert and paying attention to all the different things in your life. And it's pretty wide ranging, but I have a really good time with it.
And where can people listen to that?
They can listen to it on anywhere that people like to listen to their podcast. So it's on iTunes, Spotify, it's now up on YouTube. So all the big places.
Great. And do you do also any coaching?
Yeah, so I do some coaching. So I help people through a myriad issues. I've done some relationship coaching, help single women attract a partner. But ultimately, it comes down to
Wait, that's important. Oh, a lot of women out there are probably wanting to find a partner, like you just said, helping single ladies find a partner. But the key thing really is, I'm sure you help them fall in love with themselves first, right?
Yeah, you have to. You got to make sure that you're coming from a full heart, a full bucket before you have anything else to give. So it's been a great process, and the essential oils have gone very well with that as well. To cultivate that feeling of self-love and loving on yourself and nurturing yourself and really tuning into your body, because that's what so much of I think all the work that all of us do is about.
Yes, that's why this show is important, because we want to build that community, right? We want to build that awareness of all the different ways one can do that. And thank you so much for joining me again tonight, both of you. And Jen, can you talk a little bit about your practice, your yoga practice, your business too with the essential oils, and how you integrate that and how it has benefited you?
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us on your show, Dr. T. This is absolutely amazing. And I think what you're doing is phenomenal, because I think if more doctors out there in the world would be prescribing and treating patients and truly looking at their lifestyle in more ways, I think that the world would be a very different place. So thank you for being on the forefront of change and really empowering people in your office. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you.
And, we do very similar things. The only difference is that you have a degree and you use your office, of course, and I use the yoga mat as my playground for talking to people and understanding what their health and wellness goals are. And then I'm able to work with them on an individual basis through private sessions, but mostly these days I work through an app called Yogi Approves, and you can actually get 20% off right now through any of the classes that I have on there. And I have tons of pre-recorded classes that I find are much more beneficial to people, just because it's so nice to be able to throw on an app and then you can pick and choose what you're feeling for that day. So I just came out with a abs and booty class.
I saw that.
As a woman, it's like, if I have 20 minutes to practice,
I saw that.
You know what I'm
beautiful in that video.
Thank you. Yeah. So
I'm taking it.
Yeah. I have ones like that are more focused on the physical and just like a quick workout. And then also more spiritual, more in-depth things where you're going to be doing breathing and meditation and inward reflection. And I really found that movement and breath, especially when you combine it with essential oils, is the most powerful way to transform a state of consciousness and to create a new pathway in the brain to reprogram some of the stress response that we might normally have. So when we're able to breathe really deeply, when we're able to move our body, and using essential oils amplifies that experience, we can shift our state and be in the state of being, which is more aligned with our intention and how we would like to be rather than how we oftentimes are. So it's great to combine the practices. I basically found essential oils I guess it was 4 years ago, and I've been practicing yoga for about 10. So I didn't really understand the difference between different brands of essential oils or why I even use essential oils until I had found doTERRA. And instantly, by adding them into my yoga practice, my meditation practice, and truly living the lifestyle of yoga with the essential oils, that's when my life truly started to transform. And, our household has been totally transformed since this is our wall decoration.
They're always within arm's reach. Yeah.
Yeah. This is our decorations on our wall, which used to be, regular pictures.
Artwork. Now it's oils.
Now it's oils, which smells so good.
Oils as art.
Yeah, exactly.
Oils as art. Exactly.
Welcome to our home. Yeah.
Functional, and also beautiful.
And all the videos about essential oils is also on your website, jenniferpanza.com, right?
Yep, that's correct.
All your classes, where if anyone wants to take your abs and booty class and learn on about essential oils, that's all found on jenniferpanza.com, right? So that this is going to turn into a podcast too. I want to eventually put all the audios to these videos too on a podcast and join Jim in that area.
Come along. It's a great place.
So can you tell everyone, my audience, as you can imagine, they're all ages. I'm family medicine for 23 years, and I do advise a lot of my patients to go take yoga, begin yoga, because they need to stretch and they need to tone. Can you kind of tell them that you can do, and there's meditative practice in the movement, right? Mm-hmm. If you can just tell everyone, any age, who can't do yoga?
That's a great question. So I believe that everyone can do yoga. It's just a matter of distinguishing which type of yoga is best for you, right? So if you're someone who has never practiced before or you have specific health conditions, I highly recommend that you seek out a yoga teacher in your area that can guide you through a few private lessons just to get your feet under you so you understand your body mechanics, that you're doing the postures correctly and safely so that you can flow easily. If you are more of a beginner and you just want to start getting the basic poses down and you have average amount of flexibility and range of motion, I recommend that app. Again, Yogi Approved is wonderful. There's a lot of beginner classes on there where you can get started without really having too much worry of if it's going to be too hard or if you're going to hurt yourself, because it's a very generic basic class. And that's a great way to get started. The other option, if you're a little more advanced, right? If you're the type of person that revs really high and you have a lot of high stress and high anxiety, most likely you're going to need a more rigorous practice. And so many times a lot of people have tension, and doing a more vigorous workout will actually help them to calm down and to stabilize in their body. So I recommend in that case, again, the app is a great option, but you could do more of an intermediate or a advanced practice, which is going to be focused on strength or focus on balance, something that's going to get you sweaty so that you're able to relax more in the end. That being said, if you're not accustomed to moving a lot, it is a good idea to start with some of those breathing practices. Everyone can do that. The meditation, everyone can do that. Everyone can benefit. And just by sitting and breathing, we actually, in our last podcast, we had a whole podcast about how important the breath is. That was our last one we did together, right?
Oh, yeah.
Three episodes ago.
Yeah.
And we talked all about different breathing techniques and things that I recommend to really be able to tap more deeply into a relaxed state in your body. So really, yoga can be done any age, anytime, any place.
Agreed. Thank you so much for making that clear to everyone listening, because movement is so important. It has to be a part of your life. And what I love best and I promote is that movement that that integrates mind, body, and soul, and that yoga does that. So in the movements of yoga, you are integrating, not like mindlessly on a treadmill, reading a book or watching a movie while you're working on a treadmill. It's a very different experience. You are integrating your awareness, you're connecting to your body and to your heart and your soul in the movements and the breath, and the teacher guides you at first, right? And that's why you said find someone that can teach you, because that's important too when you get started, to make sure that you're doing it right and you don't get hurt, and to guide you in the movements. And so thank you so much for sharing and making it clear that anyone at any age can find the right yoga for them. And there's even chair yoga if you're a senior and you have poor balance, the breath work, the meditation, the connecting to your body, right? That awareness, because that's what you're doing, right? You're connecting them to their body with their awareness and their breath, and reintroducing everybody, right? It's like, hello, you're one, you're a mind, a body, and a soul. Let's reconnect all the parts with the breath and your awareness, right? In my office, that's what I diagnose, a lack of that. Okay, there's a deficiency in that.
Love that.
And the last thing I want to do, of course, is prescribe a drug. I will prescribe medication, of course. I'm a traditionally trained family medicine doctor, but I have a holistic approach in which I want to get to the root cause, and I want to help also create this community where I'm like, go check out Jen's, classes on the apps, because nowadays people want to be safe and stay home, and we have to really exercise at home now more and more. And they could take the app outside and do it outside in nature too, and do the movements outside under a tree or by the ocean, right, or by a lake, and things like that. So that's great that you have that available so readily for all those listening. And the podcast about the breath, I want everyone to seek out Pleasure Points podcast, please, and listen to that, because I do have to stop my patients and I have to teach them how to take a good deep belly breath right then and there, because it's so powerful and soothing. They can soothe themselves in an instant. And so I'm so happy you pretty much dedicated a podcast about that topic. Can you touch upon maybe some highlights about that podcast for everyone listening, just the breath?
Sure. So I wrote a few years ago, I wrote a book called Unlearning Stress, and I was distilling down like the things that I've seen clinically, like what are the most important. And I came up with the 10 things that I think are the most critical, like to sort of pass on for wellness. And I was said to myself, okay, if I get the audience's attention for just one chapter, what is the one technique, the one thing that needs to be addressed that can make a massive difference in their life, in their lifetime? And so that first chapter is all about the breath. And we talk about how, breathing can shift you from that fight or flight response into more of that parasympathetic state. And my favorite breath, that's the easiest one to implement, is what I call the 4-5-6 breath. So you inhale for 4 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, and then exhale for 6 seconds. And bonus points if you can really engage the diaphragm so that your abdomen is going to expand on that inhale and contract on the exhale. So the idea there is that, this is the kind of breathing that newborns do. If you watch a newborn who's completely safe and peace and at rest, you watch them breathe, their bellies get so big and then they collapse on the exhale. So we're hardwired to recognize that this is the kind of breathing that we do when we're in a safe space. And the whole sort of foundation of stress, right, is that like we're perceiving threats and dangers all over the place, even though for the most part, like if you're listening to this podcast or the show, you're watching it on Facebook, that like you're in a safe place. Like chances are your life is not in immediate peril. And so because of that, like if you keep perceiving your life as being in danger, then you're going to be in that heightened fight or flight state. And we can use the breath as like a phenomenal tool that you can have. You don't need any other like extra oils or acupuncture needles or a yoga mat. You have your breath. And when you can engage in the diaphragm and allow your belly to expand, you're going to send that all's well signal to the brain. And eventually I call it recruiting your physiology. You're going to use your body's natural physiological state to override the thoughts. Because people, when they meditate and stuff, they say, well, I can't stop thinking. And it's like, that's fine. I don't care. Like engage in the breath. And then your body will eventually respond in a way that's going to lead to greater peace and wellness.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I love that. Can you, so it's a 4, 5, and 6?
Yep. So inhale for 4 seconds, nice big inhale. And then you're going to hold the breath for 5 seconds. And then when you exhale, you're going to make it a little bit longer for a count of 6 seconds. So all in all, it's a 15-second breath. And if you string together 4 of these in a row, that is a powerful minute that you've dedicated to your wellness. It's going to pay dividends for the rest of your life.
Yes, because we all know chronic stress leads to illness and disease. And chronic stress is an epidemic right now. And
Yep.
so if you always have your breath with you, which we are always grateful for. I mean, that's how I check in, right, to gratitude as I begin to breathe. And then I get grateful for that I'm able to even take such a nice deep breath. And guess what, folks? The more often you do it, the greater a breath you're going to take. It's like an exercise. It's a breathing exercise. You're going to be amazed if you do this for 30 days straight, how much more of a deeper breath you're going to be able to take. It's incredible. I've noticed that personally, and my patients are now telling me, how much it is helping them. So I love that 4, 5, 6 breath. Everyone, try it now and keep integrating that. It's so easy. What do you got there, Jen?
I just wanted to mention, so what another way to make that even more profound is by adding in the Breathe essential oil.
Yes.
So this is what we love to recommend to people out there who do have a hard time breathing or need an excuse to breathe. Because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when people say, oh, just breathe, I'm like, come on, like that's so
I am breathing.
like, just breathe, But
what does that mean?
Right, but if you add an essential oil in it, it makes it a lot more fun. It makes it easier. And this one is a blend of peppermint, eucalyptus, lemon, and laurel leaf. And it kind of smells like a Vicks vapor rub, but this is all natural. So it's actually working deeper to open the air pathway. So when you put that oil up to your face and you breathe in, it feels like I'm in like a 5-star spa or something, or I'm in the middle of a eucalyptus field out in the rainforest. Yeah, and it just opens those air pathways. And now it's like, oh my gosh, I could easily sit here and breathe for 10 minutes because it smells so good, and everything opens up. And when you're getting more of that oxygen flow, and the more you can breathe, the easier it's going to be to shift that physiology in your body. So the oils are a great tool to help make breathing fun and give you a reason to breathe.
Yes. I have Breathe here in my office because because it's a fantastic, like you just said, it transports you. It makes the breath even more of a deeper breath, a more fulfilling breath. It now is affecting the brain as well, and resetting you from the crazy loop of thought. Once you begin to have a sense of smell and you engage the sense of smell, you can't think at the same time. That's why the 5 senses meditations are so beneficial, to stop that loop of thought that my patients are always saying, and they can't even sleep at night either. And I'm sure you can share an oil that might be good for everyone to learn about for sleep. And Jim can talk about that as well, about how important sleep is for your health and well-being, and all the ways that you can improve that without having to take an addictive prescribed medication. I can't remember the last time I prescribed. I used to. And personally, I've evolved as a physician, and I steer them away from that and try and teach them all the ways and sleep hygiene habits, oils, meditations, and things like that to do instead to get a better night's sleep. So, Jim, can you talk about acupuncture a little bit and your practice, how long you've been practicing, and also what are the indications for acupuncture? What are the benefits, and so everyone can listen to that. So
Sure. So I've been doing acupuncture for what now? 15 years. Crazy. And acupuncture is tremendous. It's one of the things that all of the things that we've talked about so far have in common, and you mentioned it, is like pattern interruption. So you find yourself looping, and it's like, we got to break that pattern so that you can come back and reconnect with your heart, reconnect with like your sense of power, your sense of like where you're thriving. And it's so easy for people to become distracted these days, especially now with all the news and like all the things. So at a very simple level, acupuncture is really phenomenal just to help interrupt the pattern. So if you are like experiencing any sort of like acute or chronic pain, mind racing, insomnia, anxiety, digestive distress, basically like anything that you're waking up with that isn't life threatening, chances are acupuncture has a great treatment for it. Like if you wake up and you're just like, oh man, if I just like wasn't so angry all the time, or I wasn't craving sweets, or if I could only drop the 10 pounds, or if I could get a better night's rest, or like whatever that stuff is that isn't, again, like in the immediate life-threatening situation, chances are acupuncture has a great treatment. So acupuncture as a modality has been around for 3,000 to 5,000 years old. So there's a huge history of its effectiveness, and it's just such a beautiful medicine. It's really, I could go on and on about it. So
that's why you're here, to go on and on about it.
Yeah, so we use it for newborns, so you can use it at all ages. So from newborns all the way to end of life. I've had the honor and the pleasure of being with people like in their last moments of life and doing acupuncture and healing work with them. And it's just a tremendous way to stimulate the body to self-correct, stimulate the body to find its own balance. So part of what I've always loved about it is like, I'm not injecting you with anything. There's no pharmaceuticals. There's no prescription that's needed. We're just using stainless steel, disposable needles, activating the acupuncture points that are on meridians. So if your listeners have ever seen like a model like in Chinatown of a man or a woman that has all those lines traced on them that looks like a kind of a human subway map, those are what we call meridians. And on those meridians are acupuncture points. And we say that the chi, or your life force, your energy, flows along those meridians. And so when an acupuncturist is putting a stainless steel needle into you, what we're doing is we're activating kind of a stop or a point, collection point along that meridian to help stimulate your body to find its proper balance of chi flow. So at its like we have a saying that says, where there's pain, there's no free flow. And where there's free flow, there's no pain. So you can think about like where you might have discomfort in your body is the energy getting stuck. And so when you think about a blockage, you can think about it like a traffic accident, where if there's a bad accident, you've got all of the cars backed up this way. And then on the other side of it, it's totally empty because nothing's been able to pass through there. Well, the acupuncture needle can act like a tow truck, clears away the accident. And so then the free flow of energy can resume. And then ideally the body is able to find its natural homeostasis. So sometimes, like a lot of times, people will find that the results are like there can be an immediate effect. There's an immediate shift. And then there's like the medium range and then the long-term benefits. So, and how quickly somebody responds is going to depend on so many factors of what's their constitution like? Are they, historically sick all the time? Are they anemic? Are they eating well? It's like, what's their environment? What are they going home to? What is their job situation like? All of that stuff can either really nurture or can impede that return back to good flow and balance.
Great. So
what was interesting to me getting into it was I thought that it was mostly used for pain. I mean, most Americans, when they hear acupuncture, they think, well, it's good for pain. So, you see a lot of headaches in New York where I was treating. You might see a ton of like of TMJ and like teeth clenching and grinding, which could certainly aggravate at nighttime. What a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of this like tension that they're going to get in the upper trapezius and their neck and shoulders is oftentimes connected to their jaw. And so if somebody is like clenching and grinding a lot at night, then they can wake up with all sorts of tension here. Because if I told you to like bite down as if your life depended on it, you would clench up like this. And so the upper trapezius is a secondary muscle to clenching. And so if your clients or your patients are waking up with headaches, and if they're like complaining of this chronic tension here, a lot of times the problem is actually in the jaw. And so acupuncture into the jaw is amazing. And then we add in some lavender and serenity essential oil, a little bit of frankincense, these kind of natural anti-inflammatories and anxiety disruptors, along with deep blue, which is like one of our favorite pain treatments, pain blends, muscle relaxants. That's like a very powerful combination to help, release the jaw, release that tension and to help ease the tension there in the shoulders. And again, when you start doing that, now all of a sudden your body starts to send a message that like, hey, things are okay here. And then that enables us to, we want to be in our body. We want to be aware of that moment more because we're feeling better.
Thank you so much. TMJ is so common. I can't tell you how often I diagnose that. They come in with an ear pain.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you have to come in and have to examine because most of the time it's TMJ. and
Totally.
they think they have an ear infection. So that's why it's important to go get examined, because oftentimes instead of calling in an ear drop or some antibiotic for an earache, you've got to go checked out, because most of the time it's the temporal mandibular joint here that, Jim, thank you so much for bringing that up. That is so common, especially now with so much stress and tension. You can be perfectly fine sleeping through the night and grinding and clenching your teeth all night long, and you can wake up like a headache, like Jim said. Such a common complaint in the office: earaches, dizziness, headaches, earaches, and it's all the TMJ syndrome. So know that you can get acupuncture treatments and also essential oils that can benefit you. Of course, headaches, tension anywhere in the body, right? Acupuncture is going to help relieve tension anywhere in the body.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
that's very
One of the things that, like, so I was saying, like pain is such a common indication for people to get acupuncture, but it's really phenomenal to help balance like hormonal health. It's great for anxiety. It's great for digestive distress. And then there's like an entire sort of emotional and spiritual component as well, where, you know, ultimately it's just about being able to reconnect with yourself in a powerful way. But I just want to take a moment here to celebrate you, Dr. T, and like how great, like how fortunate are your patients to be able to like go in and to get that recorrection where you're not just prescribing medication because like this is the general area where there's discomfort, but you're actually doing a thorough exam and being able to bring and incorporate some of these alternative medicines. That, you know, the joke that we have with acupuncture is that the side effect is that other things also feel better that you didn't even expect.
that's awesome. Bringing up side effects, are there any negative side effects to acupuncture?
I mean, if you're seeing somebody who's not qualified at all, then like there are some, you know, some risks, just like if you were to see anyone who's not trained. But if you were to see a licensed acupuncturist, which is what I would encourage all of your listeners to look for, if they want to try acupuncture, they're not sure where to go, you want to look for somebody who's got the letters L, capital A, lowercase c after their name. Here in Florida, sometimes you'll see an AP, which stands for acupuncture physician. But for the most of the rest of the country, what they're going to look for is an LAC. This is someone who's done, you know, usually about 4 years of extensive training with the sole intention of being an acupuncturist and a Chinese medicine practitioner. So when you see one of them, the biggest side effect that we would see from a treatment is sometimes people would have a little bit of a bruise, or maybe they feel a little tired after a treatment. But otherwise, like I said, the majority of the side effects that happen from treatment is stuff that they didn't even tell us about is also improving.
Yes, most of the time it's positive side effects.
Right, right.
Good side effects. And any contraindications? Is there anyone you won't do acupuncture on? Can you share with us anyone you wouldn't do it on, or have you ever had that situation?
Sure. Yeah, great question. So the only people that I would like flat out refuse to see right off of the bat, like they called, is somebody who's had an organ transplant. Because there we don't, like, the acupuncture can help to stimulate the body's natural immune system. And so we don't want the body to reject that organ. Now, this is going to be like the minority, like, you know, it's a minuscule amount of people that are having that situation and calling for an acupuncturist. So just about everybody else, they can come on in. There's no contraindications with medication. Even people that are on like a Coumadin or a warfarin or a blood thinner, like it's totally fine to get acupuncture. I can't think of any other like contraindications. You know, sometimes we'll get people who are like a little afraid, they're a little nervous, they don't like needles. Like nobody likes needles.
Right.
I wish they weren't called needles. I wish we called them like filaments or something else, because they're so thin that people usually are like, oh, I didn't even know that you put something in.
That's important. Talk about that so that we can get that fear away. They're not really needles, everyone.
Yeah,
I like the idea of saying filaments.
Yeah, so the difference is, like, you know, most people hear of a needle, they think about getting a shot or a vaccine or something like that. And those needles are hollow. So in order for them to like hold whatever is going to be injected, they've got to be bigger. And so the acupuncture needles are very, very thin. Some are like almost the size of a hair. The insertion is usually painless. Again, if you're seeing someone who knows what they're doing, like, it usually doesn't hurt. And if somebody's really sensitive, if they're like really nervous, I'll use a much, much thinner needle. Oftentimes I'll have them, you know, lay face down so that they can't see the needles. I stay in the room with them and everything is super comfortable. And by the end of that first treatment, they're just totally in love.
Awesome. Thank you for pointing that out. That's really important. So it's painless acupuncture. Don't be afraid about the method that is used, and please consider it if, especially if you have found no relief from any other treatments. Always give acupuncture a try. I know that I try and steer my patients that way as well. And where can they find you? Are you available to see patients? What's happening with you these days?
So I'm not seeing any clients right now, especially with coronavirus and stuff. I'm not in the office. And I've been shifting, personally into essential oils, because one of the problems, it's not a problem, but one of the challenges of being an acupuncturist, and same thing in your office, I would imagine, but certainly like as an acupuncturist or massage therapist or even a physical therapist, is like, I get just an hour, maybe an hour a week or a couple of treatments a week with the client. And then it's like, well, what can they do when they're not in the office to feel good? Eating well, of course, exercising, of course, but like, what sort of like specific treatment or protocols can they follow so they can continue to feel well? And that's where the essential oils have come into my practice, and I've just totally fallen in love with them and with their effectiveness, and they can do things that the acupuncture needles can't. And so we've really been, I've been going full steam ahead with Jen to spread the word about the power of essential oils.
Yes, great. And so
points, right?
Yeah, and so we'll use it. I'll prescribe acupressure points that they can use it on, like you mentioned, sleep. So lavender, like right behind the ear. If you imagine like a nickel or a quarter-size area behind the ear at the base of the skull, is one of my favorite places for them to put lavender, especially at night before going to bed. It's activating some of the acupressure and acupuncture points that are known to promote a restful sleep. A little drop of essential oil on the top of the ear is also great to activate some of those auricular acupressure points. So we've got a lot of options, and we can really like prescribe specific oils with specific points at certain times of day to make it such a personalized approach to medicine.
That's fantastic. Now you're empowering the patient with these processes, right? And that they can do every single day to take care of themselves, which is really key. Also, can you share also how they can find out maybe where these classes are? Do you teach that in a class, the way that you would tell them where the acupressure points for different physical manifestations, complaints? Mm-hmm. Where can they find out more information? Would that be on?
Yeah, probably Instagram is going to be best. We're pretty regular there. So I'm at James E. Rohr. Jenny's at Jennifer Panza. And then we have another Instagram account that's specific just for like all oils all the time. It's called @theoilgram.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I just would like to mention that anyone that purchases oils through Dr. T or through us becomes part of our wellness community. And just as has been mentioned, we're really passionate about empowering people outside of the clinical practice. So off of the yoga mat, off of the acupuncture table, and outside of Dr. T's office, that you have methods to heal yourself in your own home and to feel really great all of the time. And as a bonus of being part of our community, because we're so passionate about educating people, that we do continuing education classes almost every single week. And we have so much information, a wonderful community of not only experts like Jim and myself and Dr. T, but fitness experts, nutrition experts. We have so much knowledge and information in our community, and we really love to connect people to that information that's going to best support them for their health and wellness needs. So
thank you for sharing that. That's important. That way. Go ahead.
Well, I was just sort of laughing thinking about it, because I've had the thought a number of times as we're supporting our community about like how much information we give away for free.
It's crazy.
And you think about like, people would have to pay so much money to get a consultation with any of us. And then when they get the oils and they're part of our community, and any given day and certainly any given week, like we have high level people giving phenomenal continuing education seminars. And it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of free information. And we love it. It's fantastic.
Yes, I can tell you're both very passionate about it. And I think that's key, that you're both working in something you're truly passionate about, which all of you out there know. I hope you know that's very good for your health. I often have to ask my patients, do you love what you do? Do you love your job? Are you passionate about it? Because typically if they say no, if they say they hate it and they're not loving their workplace or their coworkers, that's usually the root cause of whatever it is they're complaining about. So I'm so happy that there's you are an example also of doing work that you're passionate about, that you believe in. So, and also you're also an example of a healthy relationship. Now, I have to talk about relationship in my office because healthy relationships or unhealthy relationships affect your health and well-being. And I do have to ask my patients about how is their relationship at home. I have to ask what's happening at home, their spouse, or even the relationship with their children, family relationships. But a common one in my practice in family medicine, of course, is marital discord, stress from a unhappy marriage, unhappy relationship, a breakup, and so on and so forth. Can you guys share a little bit about what a healthy relationship looks like, or what has helped the two of you, or something you want to share? Because from knowing you guys for the short amount of time, I do see a healthy, happy couple. And I do know you guys have I guess, gone through a lot of learning, right, and exploration in order to achieve that and reach that point together. Anything you might want to share to anyone listening about what are the main points of a healthy relationship, or what to look for? And I know you counsel and coach women, right, and couples in your coaching practice as well. Anything you want to share about that?
You want to go first?
Oh, no, you go first. I'm very no, I'm just kidding. Well, we did just get married last year, so I think that our journey
circle back around in 15 years.
It's just the beginning, right? In 15 years, you can ask us the same question, and we may come back with a different answer. But I have to say, this is one thing that I probably said like 4 times yesterday. And when there's heated moments or things that you may not see eye to eye on, which is inevitable because someone else is a different human.
One person's right and the other one's wrong.
Right. That is to remind the person who is argumentative that you're on the same team as them. And I think that that's been that's one of my favorite tools to use, is that in that moment to just come to the realization, like, hey, we're on the same team. I want the same thing as you want. So can we create
it really tones it down
communicative practice so that we realize, that we care about each other? Because I think ultimately it becomes like a battle, like this person is right and this person is wrong, or this person's agenda is more important than the others. But when we realize we're on the same team, we want the same things, then everything helps. It just helps to soften whatever the intensive argument might be.
Exactly. It helps minimize the situation, right? That's a great term. Hey, we're on the same team.
Why are you laughing? What are you going to say?
No, it's a great answer. I appreciate that you do that.
Great. We're on the same team.
Yeah, for me, it's like, so I was married before and divorced. And so that is, I learned a lot, and so I think if you are somebody who has been divorced, I know a lot of single people that are divorced, sometimes they feel like they're, damaged goods, or someone who is single and dating somebody or thinking about dating someone who's divorced. It's there are some advantages to that. And for me, I definitely learned a lot of what obviously doesn't work and how not to be. And after, when I was going through that process, I really realized that what was the sort of the fundamental thing that was missing from both of us in that relationship, and that I wanted to make the number one priority going forward, is kindness. And so I am telling myself that every day. I set my aim to it. I talk about it on my podcast all of the time, that really the key to just being well in the world is to be kind. And I like to joke about being right, because that's something that I would fall into. I was just I'm convinced that I'm right, and a buddy of mine said, listen, you can be happy or you can be right. And Jen's great, and so, but when I was out in the dating world and stuff, I just had I set that as my aim all of the time, kindness, 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 kindness. And so far so good. And Jen's one of the kindest people that I've ever met, and she encourages me to be that way. And I just think that's really helpful. And the research backs that up, by the way. I mean, when you look at couples counselors or psychologists that have studied happy couples, they find that it's not when someone tells me oh, we never argue, I like to say, well, one of you is lying. I believe that you never argue, but one of you is not speaking the truth, right? Otherwise there would be an argument. And arguments themselves can be healthy. The big thing is how do you argue? Do you argue with respect? Do you argue with a mutual aim of being on the same team and coming to a resolution together. And how quickly can you come back to kindness? And when that's the aim, I think that everything else can be sorted out.
That's great. I love that so much. Come back to kindness, kindness. Boy, if we make all of that, if we all of us can make kindness our intention every day, can you imagine? You know, if every day we wake up and it's a kindness meditation, that you're going to set the intention to be kind to yourself and to others, because that's another thing. We all have to remind each other to also be kind and loving and compassionate towards ourselves. I noticed that that's a self-care is a deficiency that I diagnosed in my practice quite a bit. And I have to actually coach them to begin a self-care practice. And oftentimes they're really, really kind to others, but really not kind to themselves. Have you noticed that in your coaching practice?
Oh, for sure. For sure. And it's like, you know, it can be this kind of caretaker syndrome where they just are naturally taking care of everybody else. And yeah, it's hard. I mean, you have to learn self-care. It doesn't come instinctually. But what I would tell my clients who are in that situation, who have like taken care of everyone else around them, is that they have the skill set. They know what it's like to anticipate a need. They know what it's like to tune into somebody else's energy. So they have that muscle really strong, but they haven't turned it on themselves. This is going to be very different than somebody who might be like super narcissistic, or somebody who's just kind of clueless, who, you know, is challenged with empathy, where they may not be able to tune into others. They may not be able to tune into themselves. But so if you're someone who has that habit of giving and giving and giving, like, you've got the skill set, but you just have to do it in front of a mirror, you know? So instead of like tending to your kids or your relatives or something, you know, look at that person in the mirror and give them the same kind of attention and care and compassion that you would give to a stranger.
Thank you so much. That's so important. Can you guys, each one of you, please share what you guys do in your self-care practice?
Oh my gosh, do you have 3 hours?
Yeah.
My 3 minutes.
My self-care, like, there's like 20 minutes of oiling in the morning and yoga and meditation and throughout the day. But short and sweet, I think it's really important for me, at least, to I always try to eat my most healthy meals. For me, everything starts with digestion. So if I'm eating well, that means I have lots of energy and I feel good. If I'm able to move my body, that's huge. And then, of course, managing with the essential oils throughout the day, emotions, helping myself to really put anything that's out of balance, put that back into balance with an oil routine. Lemon in the water in the morning. I love diffusing something uplifting throughout the day, like a citrus, and managing some of those environmental threats that come in is huge. And then, you know, really saying nice things to yourself is my favorite thing to do. Affirmations are huge, and you're going to always have that negative self-talk that talks on one shoulder, and then the little tiny voice that's like, you can do it, you're gonna be okay. You know, so it's strengthening that listening skill to the positive possibility, and not feeding so much into that negative listening by doing positive affirmations and mantras throughout the day, I would say, is my self-care.
Thank you. And you, Jim? How about you?
I've really I take vitamins every day, which I love. We love to get outside. I mean, we go for walks on the beach regularly when the beaches were open. But discipline, when it comes to self-care, discipline isn't always like my strength. I'll exercise when I feel like exercising and doing all that. I'm not good at forcing myself to do things that I don't want to do. So really, like, what I've done there is I just surround myself with things that I love. And so whether it's like the essential oils and the aromas, like the clothes that I wear, the artwork that we have up, like with Jen and my son and our cat, like all of these things, like, and so I find myself just sort of walking around, even in our house, like looking around, and more often than not, just saying like, oh, I'm so thankful. Like, I love this and I love that. And, you know, it's like really conditioned myself to celebrate the good in all of the things. And so those days that I might not be able to exercise, or that the beach is closed or whatever, I'm still just affirming like how grateful I am, and just set reminders up, like obvious reminders that we're loved.
Yes, thank you so much. Do you practice meditation?
I have. I'm not. I don't have a regular practice of it, But again, fortunately, like the attitude that I take is like my life is my meditation. So for me, when I sit and I meditate, more often than not, there's not much of a big difference from when I'm sitting on a cushion and when I'm like living my life, which
That's a good point.
I've conditioned that to be the case. But certainly, like I used to be really sick for like 10 years, and I would meditate daily to try to get to like the bottom of that. I used to teach Qigong and Tai Chi, not Tai Chi, but I teach Qigong. And so I would do that practice. I'll still do that from time to time. But I like the attitude and the approach of like, let me just make my life my meditation. And then if I feel like meditating with my eyes closed, then great. And if I feel like meditating while I'm doing the dishes, then I really tune in to like, how good does my body feel? What is the temperature of the water? Like, how grateful am I that I can wash the dishes in a place with clean air and fresh essential oil soap, and to be cleaning up after like my family that I love, and really dialing into that instead of something else that's like, I can't believe I got to do the dishes again, and no one appreciates me, and all of that kind of talk.
Thank you so much. I love the idea that your life is your meditation, and I think that is possible. And you're an example of that, because you've worked towards that. You've sought the information, the knowledge. You've done that personal development, that personal growth, right? You've transcended old beliefs, old conditioning, and now you arrived at this place where your life is a meditation, and you're happily married, and you work together. That's just, for many people, they think that that's a challenge. Can you, just to wrap up the show, believe it or not, we have 5 more minutes. I just wanted to, if you can share anything about what it's like to work together with someone you're married to, doing something you both love. I'm guessing, from the outside looking in, it looks like you're pulling it off really well. And any tips for anyone out there listening to kind of wrap up the show about this?
Well, to give everybody a little bit of a background, so my yoga business has been primarily here in South Florida, and Jim had 2 offices for acupuncture, one in Florida and one in New York, but the New York office was the main jam and was packed all the time, and so many people going there. So we had been doing a back and forth, Miami, New York, like flying across the country every weekend type of a thing for many years through our relationship. So for us to be able to work together now with the oils and have that be a primary focus for the 2 of us and be able to do what we love has been everything. It's been amazing, because now we finally have the time freedom and the location freedom that we've always wanted. And that is everything. And we're also still able to make an impact. And it's actually more than we were ever able to make in my yoga business or in his acupuncture practice, now that we've teamed up together through platforms like this. Interviews like this wouldn't have even been possible, because we would have been in other states, and I would have been teaching at this time, he would have been working. So to be able to do things like this together, to have our podcast, to have our oil community, really it means everything to us to be able to work together. And what's cool is that as we've been diving deeper into who is good at what, we discover so many things that Jim is amazing at and that I'm terrible at, and vice versa. I'm really good at some things and then he's not. Like, he made a webinar the other day, and then everyone was like, "Where's the flyer?" And Jim was like, "I'm not making a flyer." And I'm like, "I'm the graphic person. I like to make the beautiful flyers." And he's all about the content and the science and things like that.
I write the book, but don't promote it. That sort of thing.
Yeah, he writes the book. Yeah. I promote it to everyone. So we do work together. It's just a matter of like figuring out, what's the one person's strengths, what are they really good at, where do they thrive, and what is the other person good at, and then finding the tasks that each of us can do on our own, and it's super easy.
But the cliche of it is true. It's like communication is everything, and so we spend a lot of time having like business conversations, and so to be able to communicate that and to be able to, we both have, I think, pretty high EQs, so we're able to dial into our feelings and we're able to articulate that. If a couple's not good at that communicating, I would not suggest that they go into business together unless they are willing to work on that and to grow. And then the other thing I'd say, kind of in the same area of that, is boundaries. Setting boundaries with your time, where it's like, okay, listen, like for instance, a great example, like I like to get up in the morning and I'll have like some coffee and I'll make my eggs, and I like to like watch a show or like just ease into my day. And Jen will wake up and just immediately start talking about work. And so like sometimes she sleeps in, sometimes she doesn't. And so like if she's wakes up and I'm like, you know, in the middle of a show and she's like, okay, this is what we got to do. It's like, no, like that's gonna, you know, so that no business talk till like 9 o'clock.
No, that doesn't work. I do my
boundaries. Boundaries. I love that. Boundaries, setting boundaries, communication, kindness.
Right. All of it.
Putting love and kindness, I'm sure, into everything that you do. You're both following your passion. Everyone out there listening, following your passion, and it's very good for your health and well-being. Feeling fulfilled. Lots of studies are showing fulfillment in relationship, in your career, in your life, impacts your health big time. So if you have any, you know, issues with that and want to look into that, of course, you know, you can check in with me as, you know, and we can check that out and explore. You can go see Jim, get some coaching, bring in essential oils into your life and learn that self-care routine with meditation, essential oils, your yoga practice. It's so good for your health and well-being at any age, no matter where you are in your health and fitness journey. There is a yoga practice that's right for you at any age whatsoever. And so is acupuncture, also at any age. Okay, from birth to your last days, where you can integrate acupuncture, yoga, essential oils into your daily life and your self-care routine and promote well-being and heal from chronic conditions. Acupuncture can help you heal and find relief from things that you've been diagnosed with. If you want another option other than prescription medications, or it's just not enough, the medications you're given, you can integrate acupuncture and integrate the yoga practice and essential oils into your life to promote your health and well-being. Thank you so much, Jim and Jen. I appreciate your time that you took. I know you guys are busy and I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for joining us. Here's to loving yourself to health. This is Dr. T. Thank you.